Hi everybody, Lukas and Cynthia here as always. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about the wonderful state of Connecticut and how they have absolutely destroyed hemp there and what they're doing with marijuana. Yay! So we have an article, I'll pull it up on my phone. CT Insider, failed cannabis mold, yeast, and fungus tests are not made public in Connecticut. Here's why. So essentially, the article by Jordan Nathaniel Fenster, good article by the way, he talks about how when they set the laws up in Connecticut around marijuana, they even in the legislature they created terms that you can't, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA request test results that have failed. So the article makes it seem like a marijuana company can test a product 100 times and it just needs to pass once and then they can sell that product in the market. And if it failed 99 times prior to that, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the passing test. And it's kind of whatever, but if a product fails 99 times and passes once, it gets a little weird.
I'm not playing devil's advocate because I hate when people do that because it's just a way of being annoying, right? But what is the downside to not publishing the results of a failed test?
Well, they made it seem like in the article the reason why one of the politicians was actually quoted. Well, there's two quotes in here that are interesting. One is in regards to the negative test results not being available. It says why it may be that way, who knows? Maybe they're trying to avoid mass hysteria. There's another quote from...
Wait, mass hysteria because what?
Because things test really bad all the time?
Like everything tests bad? And so
well, that makes me question how bad are these results?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If they're...
Are the zombies coming?
Well, let me put it this way. The whole California thing with Chinese pesticides and all the craziness that they found in there, that wasn't caught by the state.
No, it was caught by an independent.
Now, one thing I will say is, for people in Connecticut, you have the ability to go test these products. Like a consumer? For the journalist, I would love to see the journalist actually go test the products and see.
Oh, that would have been a good follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Is there an actual issue? Because right now it makes it seem like there's an issue, and there may not be an issue.
Well, so the state is like, okay, we don't need to test.
Well, here's another quote. He said the state has taken the position that they're not really interested in testing things into compliance. Which, I guess that makes sense in a way.
Okay, so there's two parts to that.
The part that gets sketchy is when you don't want people to see what you're doing. So they literally wrote into law that you can't, Freedom of Information Act, details of the program. That's where it gets weird.
Right, but I don't know that politicians did that. But somebody on the marijuana side, when they were busy getting this passed, I could see them doing it. But then you have like all these nefarious kind of like, why are you doing that type of thing or whatever. But that statement was that the state doesn't want to test things into compliance. That could cut both ways. I mean, on the one hand, you could look at it like they don't really care about compliance. The other one could be potentially the state's position is, well, if it fails the first test, we don't care because it's not going to get sold anyway.
Erin Gorman Kirk, the newly appointed state cannabis ombudsman, said the issue is, quote, a great concern to her. I want to know what products are passing and what aren't, she said. Not only is this a consumer and patient matter, but it's also something I think that my office should be made aware of so that we can assist in making sure that these problems are addressed.
So the ombudsman, who has no legal authority to do anything, she would like to know, but the state's like, hey, we passed this law and people don't get to know when it failed a drug test. I mean, failed a filth, mold, whatever. I'm not even sure if it's full. So
there's another quote. It's complete corporate control and interest, Schley added. There's no care for the customer whatsoever. There's no product quality. Nobody has any faith or trust in anything. So that is interesting.
Wait a minute. Is that an assertion that the marijuana industry is only out for itself? Is that what they're saying? You just going to let that sit there?
I'm going to let you handle it.
I already said it. I threw it out there. I put it on the table. I want you to pick up what I'm putting down, okay?
I went on LinkedIn last night before I went to bed and shouldn't have done. I think I'm calling 3 different people prohibitionists in the last 24 hours on LinkedIn.
So the interesting thing about Connecticut is apparently the state doesn't care. I mean, and the argument could go either way. Should the failed test results be made available? What's the point? What isn't the point or whatever? But they absolutely hate Delta-8 and hemp-derived cannabinoid products. So much so that they sued six companies in Connecticut for selling allegedly Delta 8 products. Maybe they were over, I don't even know. What is the interesting part about this is that they used the fact that the CDC issued an advisory about Delta 8 products at one time and that the FDA hasn't approved them and also says, hey, be careful about this. That's the basis for this lawsuit. But you could say the same thing. Has the FDA or the CDC approved marijuana? But they have an entire state program where, hey, guess what? They don't allow you to FOIA test results, but we're all good. Nothing to see here. It's all good. The only problem is Delta 8 or hemp-derived cannabinoids, which, by the way, you can only buy through a dispensary. So way to put people out of business, Connecticut. Way to go.
Yeah, that's...
So a high THC hemp product is one that contains a total THC of more than 1 milligram per serving or 5 milligrams per container. Why? What is the rationale for this?
To put the hemp industry out of business.
Right. And who's behind that again?
Marijuana. It's to eliminate competition.
Okay. Yeah. And so then go on what you can do for a tincture.
Let's be clear on this. This is prohibitionist, right? You know, it's very clear, and everybody in marijuana gets upset when I call them out and call them prohibitionist. But if you are against a part of cannabis, you're a prohibitionist. I don't care if it's a hemp person that's anti-marijuana. I don't care if it's a marijuana person that's anti-hemp. If you are not pro-cannabis and pro-full plant, you're a prohibitionist.
The same people whining about it, and you know,
and it goes both ways because there are some hemp people that are very anti-marijuana, and I can't blame them. You know, well, hemp people shouldn't be anti-marijuana either.
Why would they be anti-marijuana other than that they are mortal enemies? Well, that.
I mean, tell me right now, if you're in Connecticut, you wouldn't try and get rid of marijuana, right? If you're in Connecticut, you have no choice. Like, they just went scorched earth. They just killed every company in the state.
Well, yes, but I'm just saying they don't. Hemp people shouldn't hate the marijuana plant because it's the same plant.
Correct.
But they should.
Yeah. And we
hate
get
those
that.
people.
Look,
I
we
mean,
get that. But we're also in a position in Texas where we can protect ourselves. Unfortunately, they were not. Right?
No.
This is an example of a hemp industry that was not supported and didn't have the resources to fight back, and they got crushed.
Yeah.
They're now gone. It's done.
Their attorney general, I don't remember his name, but their attorney general,
William Tong.
William Tong. You should watch some of his press conferences. It's literally like the zombies are climbing over the wall and everybody's going to die, and it's all because of hemp products.
We are trying to keep cannabis products, especially illicit, untested, dangerous cannabis products, out of the hands of children. We've heard about these products in school buses. Kids have been opening them and eating them and ingesting the entire package, which, by the way, 100 milligrams is way too much for an adult to take at one time. You take a whole bag of this, you're going to the hospital. They're made to look like things that are fun to eat. Retailers are selling these products openly on their shelves. In many of our raids and enforcement actions and our repeated visits, we found not just these products, we found wads of cash, we found firearms. This is about public health. That's why the laws are here. That's why they're written the way they're written.
But that's the only way they can get this stuff passed, because there's no other argument that's valid. And that's why typically
that argument isn't valid.
But it's one that resonates. And you know, it's the whole, like, the second you start involving kids and moms, it's like, what was the play in the vape game? What was the play in the vape game?
Yeah, as soon as those moms started complaining, that was it. I mean, parental responsibility, I think, is still a thing. I'm not sure, but you can't put it on everybody else. And
look, like, I'm not advocating for any kind of minor access to these products whatsoever. I'm against that. I strongly believe in 18 plus. I think 21 is reasonable, but I think people have the ability to make their decisions on what they want to consume when they're 18.
If you can die for this country at 18, you should be able to consume whatever you want at 18.
Correct. Now, that being said, the argument that is used is one of scare and propaganda.
It's to keep people safe. It's to make sure that the cannabis that they ingest is safe and tested and regulated and of a potency that people can handle, and that it doesn't get in the hands of children.
Yes.
Like it's what's been proven to work, and that's the path they go down. And so, you know, it puts everybody in a tough position because it's like,
this is what's wrong with the world, right? Is that logic and reason have gone out the window. Nothing is in context anymore. Anybody can make anything into an emergency merely by mentioning children, right? It's like, and so you talk about adult products like these products, or, you know, but apparently children and liquor is no longer a thing. Like, it's cool. Texas allows minors to drink. It's fine as long as they're accompanied by an adult who may or may not be their parent.
Don't get me started on the sort of just openness of giving children one of the most addictive drugs on the planet, which is sugar. And you can go in any grocery store in the country. There is no age gate, and children can literally buy enough sugar to have diabetes for the rest of their life in one shopping cart.
Mama, may I have cookie?
No, Diabito. Roll back to kitchen.
Oh.
You know what else is super hypocritical about Connecticut? Is that when they sued these retailers, these hemp people, they put pictures of what they believe to be bad examples of products, but the marijuana industry does the exact same thing. There's no federal regulation that says that the marijuana people can't make Frito-Lay, whatever, or Skittles, or wait, there's a strain called Skittles, and somehow it's okay because it's marijuana. And Connecticut, they're like, oh, this is only a problem on the hemp side.
Yeah, this is a bit extreme. Is anybody prepping for a lawsuit in Connecticut?
Not to my knowledge.
They don't have the resources?
It's a tiny little state. I mean, to your point, once they made everything go through dispensaries, right? So it would be okay for a company like us because we could sell directly to a dispensary, but everybody who had a hemp store, they're out of business.
Well, part of the problem too is, so it's kind of a perfect play from the state standpoint if they're trying to get rid of hemp, because they just cut the feet out of everybody that was selling hemp in the state and took the resources, and now they're all out of business. So who has the resources to sue?
So to circle back, does it matter whether failed tests should be available to the public?
It's an interesting question. I don't agree with them blocking the FOIA request. If somebody wants to see, if somebody wants to see the test results, they should be able to see it.
That has to have come from the marijuana side, and also the fact that there would be mass hysteria is like, why would there be mass hysteria? I feel like we should take a field trip to Connecticut one day.
Well,
Yeah.
That makes me question of, well, what are they hiding? Is everything they're testing like popping for lead?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would there be mass hysteria? Like, you know, there's some contagion that nobody knows about in Connecticut. Like, what?
Is there bird flu? Like, what's going on there?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah, and then the position they took on hemp. I mean, it just goes to show sort of the level of corruption that is there. I mean, they're blocking consumers from getting access to data around products they want.
They are prohibitionists because they want to dictate what products you can use, only marijuana, you can only get it through this dispensary, but then they will also curtail or restrict the information that you as a consumer might like to see, and you're not allowed to see it. So
Yeah.
Connecticut is a prohibitionist state, but we already knew that because they tax massages and manicures.
So other than the dispensary laws, what are the other laws in Connecticut that are bad for hemp?
Well, where's this? So a hemp product, for a hemp edible, topical, or transdermal patch, 1 milligram per serving, or 5 milligrams per container. That takes out our topical. Right. That takes our topical out of the running. For a hemp tincture, oil intended for ingestion by swallowing, blah, 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 1 milligram per serving, or 25 milligrams per container. The eye roll was great. I wish we had that on camera. For a hemp concentrate or extract, vape oil, wax, or shatter, 25 milligrams per container. Manufactured product, for a manufacturer product not described above, you can have 1 milligram per serving, 25 milligrams per container, or 0.3% on a dry weight basis for cannabis flower or cannabis trim.
0.3 of what? Oh, that's 0.3.
Total THC.
Right.
assuming they know actually what they mean, because all it says here in the Attorney General's letter, he says if you offer Delta 8 THC products that exceed 0.3% THC, so is it a total THC? Because he's not being specific. And I haven't looked at Connecticut's hemp program, but I'm guessing that this letter is probably has an inaccurate description, because they usually do. Right. Yeah. These, there was a situation in Missouri the other day where the Attorney General issued this letter saying, we're going to ban everything in Missouri starting, I don't know, October or September, something like that, blah, blah, blah. And what people don't understand is that there's context behind that. The Attorney General is running for office. So he did a thing to make himself look tough on crime. It's Attorney General Bailey made himself look tough on crime. But meanwhile, the effects that ripple through the hemp space, it's brutal. People have set up businesses. Missouri has a thriving hemp industry. But this stuff is it's like, there's such cheap shots, right? It's grandstanding, it's cheap shots. It's like, no, bring me something real. Be a man, bring me something real.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of this is done for grandstanding, like you said. Those are our views on the wonderful cannabis programs in the state of Connecticut. And wonderful. So thank you for joining us as always. Happy hunting, and we'll see you in the next video.
We want them here.
And not here.